can't think of any more human activity than conducting science experiments.
The game I play is a very interesting one. It's imagination in a tight straitjacket.
The beauty of a living thing is not the atoms that go into it, but the way those atoms are put together.
What I always think should be the basis of education is not answers, but questions. We should teach kids how to question.
Welcome to Blabcoats. My name is Amit Siddiqui. In this abridged episode, Meow talks about some of the Biofoundry projects being conducted. To listen to the full episode, go to blabcoats.com and subscribe to our podcast.
At the moment, we've got some projects in the lab-grown meat space. So we're looking at this new movement called cellular agriculture, which is, we're not actually making lab-grown meat. We're looking at bottlenecks in the pipeline of producing lab-grown meat and how do we help those industries. So I think that this is a really good area for hackers to get into, is not necessarily the big star projects. Like everyone wants that, right? Everyone wants the one where the whole world goes, oh, wow, they were the first to do that. They're pioneers, da-da-da. The real heroes are the people who are around the side saying, how do they make this a thing for everyone else? So, like, you know, we can make a hamburger for $33,000, you know, a meatball for 33 grand, or, you know, hamburger patty 330 grand. But the real heroes are the people that I think that come in and look at where are the expensive parts. How do we reduce the cost of that? How do we work with these companies? How do they be the person selling the shovels during the gold rush?
Yeah.
So we're looking at stuff around that in lab-grown meat. Yeah. So how do we create technologies that we can work with and license to these companies that they shouldn't be spending time on because they're fucking PhD qualified tissue engineers. They shouldn't be doing stuff like, how do I build a shovel? They should be like, I want to dig because I know exactly where the gold is. So so augmenting that. So we're looking into those areas at the moment.
So you're optimizing that whole process.
We're looking for areas we can.
Right.
We've got one that we think's pretty rock solid. But that's like in process at the moment. Can't talk heaps about it. It's kind of cool. Like everyone knows what it is, but I hate doing this. But like, you know, it's more fun to work on the project. You keep an eye out and you'll see it.
Okay.
There's also I'm working on a farming on Mars, and we're also working with some space pioneers from Australia who are really fucking amazing. You know, people who put the first Australian experiment on the ISS. Oh. We're looking at doing some stuff in space recycling and habitation in space. What else is there? Looking at like starting to get into agriculture, so beef and livestock industry. Also looking at conventional farming, so ways around that. But like, you know, we're always thinking about things like, how will we do things on Mars? How will we do things in space? How do we do things in incredibly hostile environments? Because they all the knowledge crosses over to other ones. And if you're farming in the desert, half the time you may as well be farming on Mars. So why don't we just pretend we're farming on Mars? Yeah. And then it becomes a really fun project that everyone can jump onto. I'm working lots on courses. So how do I bring up the education level of everyone in Biofoundry so we all have a similar skill set?
Right.
I'm working on a yeast that makes palm oil.
Oh, yeah. I have that over here.
I'm also working on some other ways of doing this that don't involve chopping down rainforests.
Right.
And also things that are infinitely scalable. So, like, you know, cutting down rainforests is cheap. Global demand for palm oil rises, but there's only so much rainforest you can chop down. So in 10 years, demand for palm oil globally will double. There's not double the amount of rainforest left.
Available, yeah.
Do you know how?
Yeah.
Have you until I did, like, I was making the palm oil before I really heavily researched how bad the deforestation is.
How bad is it?
So, global demand for palm oil is 68 million tons a year. So that's quite a lot, right? But palms don't make much oil. So 1 hectare, which is a kilometre by a kilometre, produces 2 to 5 tons of palm oil a year.
That's it.
68 million tons of palm oil get made a year. So you're just like, think about how much forest has been burned and chopped down. And, we're talking like sometimes there were fires that went through Indonesia to get rid of the rainforest so that they'd make it available for palms. And it's talking like, 2/3 of their forests have been burned down and stuff. And I understand why they do it. It's these people are in poverty.
Yeah.
But,
it's hard to take care
from a global perspective.
Yeah.
They're burning down, so much value, so much in excess of, cheap palm oil for migraine. We're talking about biological resources we can never get back. But, in these countries like Indonesia, Borneo and stuff, there are mammals we haven't discovered yet. What fucking fungi, bacteria, algae, what nutrients are being cycled there and what cures and pharmaceuticals are hiding in there that are just gone forever because of, this palm oil.
Yeah.
So like the sad thing is I won't finish this project before it's too late. Like all the rainforest will be chopped down, I reckon. Yeah. It's like the technology thing, you can't stop it.
Damn.
These people need to eat, they want to have kids, they want to have a nice quality of life, and that's the way it will go. It's because demand will keep on increasing.
Yeah,
but then my business will be successful because my business is scalable.
Yeah.
But at what fucking cost? It's a tragedy.
It's amazing how when we think about conservation of the environment and taking care of it, a lot of it is being done by first world countries because third world countries just don't have the resources. People don't give a shit because they have to worry about feeding their kids.
Definitely. And I think that you actually touched on a thing. Often third world countries are the places that have the things that are most valuable.
Yes.
So it's bioresources, but it's also things like, traditional resources. So these countries are like, natural resources and tourism generally is that definition of a third world country. Sounds like Australia. So we need someone to come and fucking save us from destroying our reef. Otherwise we're well fucked.
Thanks for listening to Blab Codes. Rate and review our podcast on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast because it does help us spread the word. And if you like what we're doing here, then help us grow it by sharing this with a friend of a friend, or your mailman, even your mailman's mailman. We also want to hear from you, so send us questions or comments to blabcodes@gmail.com. And if you have any interesting questions or comments, then we'll talk about it on air.